Body positivity and body acceptance is not gender specific. Body dysmorphia is not gender specific, and men feel too. So all that has to be put out there and recognized and accepted, and hopefully something can come from it.
Yeah. So what do you think it means to be a good man? What? I would love to pass it over to you for a bit, just to introduce yourself, what you're working on, and why you're interested in this conversation about mental health and masculinity.
Hi, my name's Anthony Patrick Manieri. I'm a photographer based out of Toronto, Canada. And for the last 8 years, I've been working on a photo series for men, on men, based on body positivity and body acceptance. It's taken me through North America and parts of Europe. And the whole idea is to, one, talk about the things that hold us back as men, especially after the Me Too movement, where we seem to be all demonized. The fact that we're also blanketed with a term of toxic masculinity, which I don't believe really exists. And that when body positivity or body acceptance is ever discussed in media, just conversations in general, men are rarely ever brought into the conversation. And I look at it like we're all humans, so we all feel, we all have similar feelings inside and about our bodies, about the way we look, and it's not one-sided. So I know I felt these things growing up, and I just wanted to share and hopefully um, have a young kid who is struggling and sees it not have to go through 30 years of their life feeling a little insecure about the way they look because things can't be helped. You are who you are.
Mhm. Yeah, it's incredibly important and underrepresented in conversation and in media, and I agree. And when it is, it's typically not in a helpful way for young guys to perceive. And I have my own sample size from all the conversations I've had, and this is a topic that has come up, but very rarely. And so
Mm.
even in the space of men's work and masculinity, it is, I think, underrepresented as as an issue to focus on. So I really appreciate your work, and especially doing it in such a like a capturing way where it's visual and it draws your attention. I think is a really powerful way to go about it. I'm curious. Either through conversations or online, what kind of reactions and conversations does it tend to start your work?
Well, the reaction I received right out of the get-go was really positive. When I decided to actually do this, because it all happened organically. But when I finally decided I was going to do a small series based on body positivity, and I was gearing it more towards larger size men initially. Um, I am not a huge social media person myself, but some people are, and that's great. And when they were coming in that first day, they were during it or afterwards, they were posting about it, saying, "This is what I did. This is what it's for. This is who I did it with." And immediately, I started to receive messages from I would North America-ish initially, asking if I would come to their city to do the same thing. So immediately it was a very positive, overwhelming reaction I was getting. And just the men who showed up, I was expecting, 10, 15 men maybe to come. Thinking I was going to do a little small gallery show somewhere. with that message of body positivity. And it 40 men showed up, I believe.
Wow.
So it was spread over 2 days. And men, this was January of 2017. Once the initial photo was taken, then things sort of happened, and then it led me to doing the shoot. So it was January in Canada, and men were driving in 4 or 5 hours through snowstorms for this. And I just when they would tell me that when they arrive, I would just be like, "What are you crazy? What do you mean you're coming in for 5 hours?" And a lot of them pulled me aside and said, "This is really important. I really wanted to participate." And I did also notice that it wasn't just larger men coming in. There was thin men coming in, men who were wanting to put weight on and be feeling insecure. So it was all these different shapes and sizes were coming in. So it wasn't just, which opened my eyes as well. I mean, I realize everyone has issues to a degree that they hide or would like their body to look a little differently. Um, but I would just because I'm in a big size body, I was leaning towards that in that direction. But at that point, everything just kind of blew open. So it was initially very positive. It's always been really positive. I've had a few people come at me online, um, but just saying that I was glorifying obesity or eating disorders, and I said I'm not doing any of the sort. That's not the reason for this. So then, if that's what you take it as, then you misunderstand the message behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think um, there's always going to be some misunderstanding of like the idealization of the body in media as like a healthy message. Um, where I mean, so often you'll see an interview with um, an actor in a movie after like a Superman or a Baywatch who was like the healthy, strong guy, and they're saying I had no energy and I was in the gym 10 times a week and I was with a trainer and I couldn't work a normal job. I had to eat certain things and or I was taking these medications and you realize that the jacked guy in the movie was actually a pretty unhealthy actor who was like looking like that for for a 6 month period as until they could relax. But and then they get attacked by media after for like letting themselves go when they don't look like.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
So I think that gets conflated with health a lot, just like looking like that when it's not really normal for a body to be in that like lean condition for a lifetime.
Ever,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's so, but it's understandable. Like it is pushed widely as health, and so it's I think it's really important to kind of talk through that and be like, okay, like or should the human body really be in kind of like a condition of starvation to like wrap the skin so tightly around the muscles? Probably not, right? Like
Right.
we should bodies look like bodies. So, and I think just showing more like with the work you're doing at photographing um bodies that aren't in that like or some maybe but like not exclusively in that condition is so important because a lot of times there aren't photos of just diverse bodies so I think really important to show that I'm curious I don't know anything about photography how do you coordinate the space how do you get inspiration for a subject coming in? How do you get them to feel comfortable in the work? I'm guessing a lot of them may be new to being subjects or working with you. So
Yeah,
tell
I
me how
would
that went.
absolutely. So, well, I'm a people person myself, and I guess I couldn't be a photographer if I wasn't. I would assume, I don't know. But I'm the type of person that would, talk to you in an elevator, talk to a stranger in an elevator. I just like talking to people and I like being with people and I always when men would come in, I literally have a certain amount of time with them because normally if I'm expecting six people to come in, I'm 15 are coming in, so then my time is a lot shorter. So I've got to I have a I have to produce a really great photo within a short period of time, and but as well as make them feel safe and really comfortable. So, um, and I could do it well, I guess. I would, they would come in, I would introduce myself, and it's either a handshake or a hug, and I give them the rundown of the studio space, and it's really like stepping on a stage for them. So it's really intimidating if you've never done anything like this. And because I'm shooting in studio with a white background, with a white silo cove and one light, and all the lights are turned off around them, so it really to them it would really feel like a stage. And then I direct them, and I what I immediately say is the fact that you came today is you're stepping out of your box, so that's a great thing, that you your body took you to come here, like brought you here, and nothing that you're going to do is going to be bad. So I don't want you to think the process, because anybody would. It's natural to go through your head and think like, am I doing this right? Does he like it? Do I look like an idiot? How does my body look? And I said, I want you to kind of like get rid of that, because the fact that you're here, it's already great. So let's just try to work together and try to figure something out. So I'll give them the breakdown. And as we're shooting, I'll tend to stop and bring the person over to go through their images that we've done so far, and I'm hoping that they're looking at themselves the way I'm seeing them, as opposed to, oh my God, my love handles, oh my God, my man breasts, or whatever their physical attribute that they are always or unaware, or that they're upset about, or they're insecure about. I'm hoping that they're not seeing that they're seeing it. They're seeing themselves the way I am trying to show them how I'm seeing them, and I'm showing them like the lines of the body and how beautiful that is, and please watch your finger placement and watch your hands, and then they get a little confidence and they go back onto the stage, and they do it again, and it just seems to go, and it's really really lovely. But um, and when it's done, there's always a sense of, how can I put this? I'm usually working with assistants, so there's somebody will be meeting and greeting them in the front, and someone will be in studio with me. Um, and about halfway through the day, the assistant in the front who's meeting and greeting will come in and like, what is going on in here? What do you mean? And they're like, because he's watching them walk in and being extremely nervous, and then they come in to see me, and then when they leave, there's a sense of release, I guess, where their energy seems to be a bit bigger. He's like, well, I don't know, but I'm seeing these people and they're looking very different when they come out, which is really great. So it's a great thing.
Really cool process. And I think part of it is, as you described, is maybe them noticing what you're celebrating, like you said, with the lines or the movement of the hands. And it's like, oh, wow, like they're really celebrating like these parts of my body. 'Cause like you said, I think a lot of us will focus on the two things that we're insecure about, whatever it may be about your body.
Well, yeah, I don't necessarily ask them what they're insecure about.
Right, of course, yeah.
And so I don't try. So if I know, let's say they're insecure about their love handles, I wouldn't specifically hide them, nor would I accentuate them. I
Mhm.
it's I don't even care about that.
Mhm.
I'm looking at it differently. I'm looking at your body, thin, large, short, tall, whatever it might be, and just finding a really beautiful photo in there,
Mhm.
hopefully regarding movement or expression. So
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's an important distinction. It's not a focus on a certain element of the body.
yeah.
It's holistic. I think the photo is like an act of celebration, and so like
Sorry, yes.
celebrating, and it's like, oh, like wow, like you said, I'm on stage and I'm being appreciated and celebrated for my body, which I think is incredibly rare, maybe even a never or a once in a lifetime. Hopefully not a once in a lifetime, but it's incredibly rare for, I think, for the average guy, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's so little appreciation for that body. So it's that I think that act is so special.
I
So
think so. It's funny when I'm on set. I'm a spiritual person. I've got into mindful meditation and studied a whole bunch of healing modalities and things like that. So when I'm on set with them, whether it's the whole period of being there, the whole day when shooting, it's very. I feel like it's in the flow of the universe. I can't explain it. So when the day is done, there's this, even for myself, there's a sense of joy when I leave, you know, as opposed to God, my back hurts. I've been, standing on cement all day. It's a nice feeling. It feels like it was meant to be that way.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's in the flow state and aligned with
yes.
your skills and purpose, which is really cool. Um, I'm curious. So you mentioned the kind of the change that the men will go through and the walk in to the walk out after the whole process and getting comfortable. I'm curious if you've kept in touch with any of the
Mm.
subjects and kind of gotten a conversation with how it how it affected them. How did being portrayed in these photos affect their relationship with their own body, maybe.
Well, I don't think we've ever had discussions about that specifically. Though I am aware because we follow each other on social media, and some I'm closer to than others. Just that's just the way it worked out. Um, but I can see that they've somewhere along the lines they've kind of gone on a health journey with themselves, which is really nice to see because for me, I'm always like this. I'm always up and down with that, right? And I try to be diligent, but I'm watching them and their bodies are transforming. This could be like 6 months out from the actual um the actual shoot itself. I'm like, good for you. And then I've got a friend who teases me all the time because some of the men, a good chunk of the men have all OnlyFans pages. And he's like, I think you're creating monsters that they've become so comfortable with their bodies that now they're doing they have an OnlyFans page. And I said, well, knock themselves out. They could do whatever they want. But it's nice to see, and I don't know if I necessarily had an effect, like the what we were doing had an effect, but just from a distance watching them on social media, I can see how they're changing, which is
Mhm.
nice, right?
Yeah, I guess, and I
And
mean,
and that wasn't the point of it, the message,
mhm,
but I'm glad they themselves had some type of experience that they wanted to shift.
mhm. And then so beyond like impact on like the subjects, I'm wondering what what you hope the impact is on the viewers, someone who opens a book and sees the photos, what kind of thinkings do you hope it prompts in the minds of the viewers?
Number one, we're all the same. We really are. It's I don't know if that comes from years of experience. I know we're told that, we're all the same. And we are really. We just come in different vessels, right? And I'm not sure how spiritual you or anyone else who might be listening to this is, but you know, they say, and I tend to believe that we're spirit having a physical experience on Earth. So I think some of them, like when men come in and they're questioning, or I'm speaking to somebody and they're questioning, and I said, you're going to be an inspiration for somebody. This is voluntary. I'm not trying to like, please, please, please. No, but if I think you'd be great at this, I think if there will be somebody out there, if not many, many people that will look at your photo and can totally relate because your body might be similar. And just seeing what they're doing and how their body is bending and moving and in this form of celebration, that it's okay. It's okay to look like this. And that's another message too. It's like you are who you are. You may want to lose weight, you may want to gain weight, you may want to put muscle on, whatever it might be. And I always found waiting until that happens to love yourself or to accept yourself is such a waste of time. If you can try to start that right at the beginning, on your journey, then it makes your journey that much easier, you know?
Yeah,
Because
it's so
because
important.
sometimes you'll never completely reach your goal fully, and why wait to love yourself when you could do it now?
It's such a good message. Yeah. And it applies to so many things, right? Like I'll be finally happy once I get that job or get that partner or relationship or that apartment and it's
Anything like, oh, my living room will look so much better once I put those curtains up, once I can get curtains, or whatever it is. But your apartment's great as it is. The curtains are just going to help. That's all.
yeah. And having goals is awesome and super important. It's just tying your happiness to the external is always fraught. And it's important to kind of find the love before pulling in all those outside things. Another question on like giving your work is like visual and media. Um, how does it how does it play into like other either social media, movies, TV, and like those portrayals of the male body? Where do you see it living in that universe?
That's a good question.
Like, is it
I don't know.
the anti, or does it fit in, or is it totally
Oh,
separate?
I don't care. Either way, I really don't care. Um, because, well, just from seeing what's, in pop culture right now, things are changing for sure. Um, with men and roles, but representation does matter. So that's one thing I'm finding, that you're seeing a little bit more of the different body shapes out there. And I mean, it really is true. I mean, as a kid growing up, I'm a little bit older than you, I believe. But if there was ever a large actor on set, they were usually the funny friend, or the name was usually Bubba. You know what I mean? The butt of a lot of jokes. But as a kid, I didn't even realize that was even happening. Like, it was just like, oh, hey, there's funny. Hey, that person's funny. And I was a closeted kid, so usually I like big bearish men. So it was a bonus for me to even see that. So it didn't click in until much, much later that there was nothing like that. And also being in fashion, I also photograph fashion as well, that I'm conditioned to like a certain body, you know, um, a body type to sell garments. And it's hard for even for myself to kind of break out of that. But you're seeing so much diversity now, just in the last few years, really. Um, even with men, it always happens to women first, but I think because women are more vocal and start conversations and put it to the forefront, and men, that's what when men need start have to start doing,
Mhm.
really.
Yeah. Yeah. And beyond this work, how do you think men can learn to appreciate and embrace their bodies?
Mm.
Any lessons on that?
Well, I think they have to be ready to. It just can't be across the board. I had my aha moments throughout my life. Um, and I'm not preaching to anyone. I just want to help, if a kid or a teenager that might feel really, really insecure. Like I was the kid who kept my t-shirt on at the pool and things like that as growing up, until one day I was like, screw this. I want to enjoy the sun too. I don't care. I think everyone has to be open to having that discussion. And along their journey of life, for myself, I've had different aha moments, but people have to be willing to talk about it.
I'm curious if you've over the years you've been working on this, how like if you've learned anything about masculinity or what it means to be a man, or how it changed your perspective on what being a man is like through the work, or not, maybe it doesn't change.
And honestly, it hasn't changed, but what I've seen is all these men that if you would have seen them at the beach, or if you've seen them at the gym, or if you've seen them in the shopping mall or at the grocery store, we create stories in our heads of who a person might be just based on their physical appearance. But when they walk through the door, they're all the same. It's for me, it was a little bit of an aha moment. I mean, not that I wouldn't know that generally, but now I'm faced with it. It was in my face that, you'd have a man who was a gym bunny and he was really buff and he's coming in the door and there's a reason why he's there, whether he's being an ally or he himself has some body issues. Um, to somebody who's obese, to somebody who's underweight, it's really interesting because I feel like the ego is left at the door when they come in. Um, so I would say, like I said, I don't think masculinity plays a part in that per se, but it's definitely. I mean, I keep stressing that we're all the same. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but for them to again to walk through that door, there's something happening,
Yeah.
and we all need, we all need love, we all need self-love, we all love makes the world go round, really. And so they're coming in and they want to make a little bit of a difference, whether it's in their own lives or for somebody else. And that's what they know that as well, that they're not only will that be happening, but they will be helping just visually other people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
aren't ready to walk through that door.
I think that's the main thing is, yeah, you have these champions who are willing to be vulnerable, um, which in itself is like a really strong, right? To be vulnerable. I mean, it's like super brave to do what they're doing. I'm
Well,
also,
one thing I I lead with, I always uh, talk about is that it's time to include men in the conversation. Just because when this topic is ever discussed, men are always usually left out of it. And that's partly because women have put the conversation to the forefront and men have not. Body positivity and body acceptance is not gender specific. Body dysmorphia is not gender specific, and men feel too. So all that has to be put out there and recognized and accepted, and hopefully something can come from it.
I love that. That's the message I'm sharing first. I mean, it just
Okay.
captures it so clearly.
Do you want me to say it again?
That's perfect.
Okay.
It'll be played over and over again as many times as guys need. So that's awesome. Really well said, and such an important message. And so I'm glad we caught that. And where can guys find? What's the best place to find your work? Is it's in the you have a book coming out? Where can you have your social media? Where should guys go to find you?
People can find me mostly through social media, basically. Um, so on Instagram, it's Anthony P. Manieri. I'm sure you'll have something
Yeah, we'll tag
linked
you
there.
and share you. Yeah.
Uh, the project page is Arrested Movement. You could find me on Twitter at am_love yourself. Now on Blue Sky, but under Anthony P. Manieri. There is a website. I'm just finishing it up, and it's also arrestedmovement.com. Or people can email me directly. And if they go to the website, they can actually send me a message as well.
Cool.
And regarding the photos, I've just started to like post because of the book.
Mhm.
I try to respect everyone who's come in, and I um I don't want to flood social media with people's photos of themselves nude in motion. I want to respect them, though many people want to see the photos. So therefore, this book is on its way out. It actually goes to press next week. This week, sorry, next week.
Really exciting. That's awesome.
Hmm.
Congratulations.
Thank
Uh,
you.
that's yeah, really exciting to have that like captured in milestone. And what else was I going to ask you? Oh yeah, any for our own.
Well, if you hold that thought, I was just going to say regarding the book itself. So there's never been a solo gallery show exhibition on the series. So what I found was interesting. I would have a gentleman who, a friend of mine, who would come in and record and video promotional pieces for gallery installations and or for promoting. And at one point, one of the shoots, I had maybe 100 photos put out on the table, and he's like, it's really interesting. He's like, I'll look at a photo, I'm like, well, that's really great, but when you see everything together, the message is that much stronger as a collective. And that's what I hope the book will people that message will come across more so in the book. It's just like it's not just one person, it's this whole community of men coming together, standing strong, hopefully trying to break some barriers of what beauty standards that have been thrust upon us as a society or as a culture can somewhat break a little bit, and seeing it as a whole, as there's God's 200 plus men in the book. Um, it's really lovely to see them all doing their thing, and it's not just one specific photo.
Yeah. No, it's really powerful. I agree that the volume and the numbers is like an important for the impact.
And it also says something too, and it's just not a one-off, it's we all struggle from it. We all struggle from some little thing, whether you don't like your ears, your nose, your feet, your penis size, your your ass, your chest, whatever it is, your hair, lack of hair, whatever it is. Everyone has a different reason for wanting to do this, and therefore the viewer looks at these images and they can relate, right?
Yeah. Well, I so appreciate the time. Incredible work and conversation, and I'm just yeah, really I don't know, privileged to be in the spot and talk to people doing really interesting work. So
What you're doing is really great,
I
really great.
appreciate
And
that.
I don't know if you hear that enough, but I mean, I reached out to you randomly. I saw a post and I was like, I really like what you guys are doing. That's really great because
So glad.
I think, especially now, I mean, mental health is always an issue, but I would say just in the last 4 years, it's just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are angry. A lot of people are on, antidepressant medication, and we got to figure that out. You
Yeah.
know,
And
and what and having a platform like yourself to talk about it is amazing.
exactly, yeah. And on the online resources, because people are looking for mentors and looking for help and looking for leaders and a lot of the I think things that they find on online are super unhelpful and unhealthy. And so
Right.
we try and be like talk to real people doing real interesting things as a helpful resource and not like a guru trying to sell you a course.
Well, it's interesting because when I started this series, I look back on the things in my life that if I was in a dark place, things that would help me, and I used those things. For example, when social media started 2008, 9, whatever it was. Do you remember memes are really popular, inspirational memes?
Yeah.
You'd have these quotes. And
Hmm.
when I was in a dark place, I would happen to see it. I'm like, wow, I was meant to see that today. And I'm like, it made me sit back and like think about that. So when I started to curate the Arrested Movement uh, Instagram page, I made sure I included inspirational quotes as well. I've kind of stopped doing that in the last few years. Um, but I'm sitting here and as we're having a conversation, I'm like, I gotta start doing that again because
Right
I
back.
found how much it helped me, and I wanted it to be able to help somebody else. And now that we're having this conversation, how mental health is, through the roof, and we were talking earlier how men take their own lives 4 times more than women do. Then like, I gotta get back to putting out some memes. Well, one thing I was gonna say was in 2022, 2021, I was approached by the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, England. And if those of you who don't know what the Victoria and Albert V&A is, it's the Met technically, but in London, and it's older and bigger, and they were doing their first exhibition on men and masculinity and fashion, and they reached out to me to have a portion of the series included in that show. And it was wild to be in this historical building. And literally next to my work was the fig leaf of for Michelangelo's David. It was really strange. So it was a proud moment for myself that I'm in this facility with these amazing artists. But what was lovely was I was able to share these different shaped men, these beautiful men, to a massive audience, because the amount of people that go through that museum, London is a big city. And so it was a proud moment to have that there and have other people see it. And the first day after opening, I went the private viewing, and then it was open to the public. And I went back for the opening of the public, and I just standing back and just watching people how they're looking at the work. And a few of them I caught crying. It was like, wow, you're crying. That's amazing. Like, thanks for that. It was really, really lovely, and I was proud to show these men off, really.
Yeah, that is a cool moment to see. Congrats on.
Because around me was all beautiful statues of like Apollo and these gorgeous models and musicians and beautiful fashion, and they all looked fairly a certain way body wise, and then you had my work that was kind of a whole cornucopia of different body sizes, right? So it was really nice.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, like the place it's in and the history behind it, and like what is typically like serious art, or like it has so much weight to it. And to have your work in there is like such a cool like moment, and like important for progress
Yes.
area. So
And that whole exhibition itself was about progress. So it started off I was in the classical room with nudes, and the second room was more how men's clothing came to be, and the third room was very fluid, where you had Harry Styles' dress, and as one of the last pieces of the show, where men are now the fluidity of clothing and things like that. So it was an amazing show. It really, really was. And I'll tell you, when it was done, I think I cried for about 2 hours afterwards.
sure,
Yeah, it was lovely, lovely experience.
really cool.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
Would you pose for this?
I don't think I would be ready yet. I don't think I would be ready. I mean, I have and my own journey with my own body positivity. I used to um, kind of be in like a bodybuilding phase, and it came from, and you would never guess now, but like 2016 to 2019 was all I thought about. Just
Right.
eating as much as I could, working out as much as I could, not to be skinny.
So you're on the opposite spectrum of me, where you, like, I have many friends like yourself who are trying to put weight on,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
I did that and pushed myself as hard as I could until I got hurt. I herniated a disc. I couldn't really move for 8 months, and I was like, okay, I now I can't do anything I love to do, like that I enjoy doing, like my rock climbing or my surfing, and I had to kind of reflect as like this is my body saying this is unhealthy, and I'm still the same person, and everyone kind of perceived me the same way, and I was like, wait, maybe only I really care about this. Um, so I was still working on it. I've been a lot better with like working out for my health and for what feels good, and not, but even literally like a month ago, I like learned I could run slowly. And like that it was so ingrained from like growing up. Like I used to play soccer a lot, and it was really important to me. And there were these time metrics
Yep.
If I wasn't close to like my high school soccer time, like the run wasn't worth it. And so
Right.
every run, I would end up feeling terrible and ragged. My heart rate was like 200, and literally like a month ago, I kind of learned like I had an Apple Watch and I saw how high my heart rate was and like Googled like what should my heart rate be when I run? It should be like 160, 150. And so now I'm running my 10-minute miles and I feel amazing after. And so it's still
Right.
like brand new, like kind of unlearning this like super high performance need. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Good. Like I said earlier, we're all on a journey. We're not on the same part of the journey. Some people are starting it. Some people are the aha moments really help. Good for you though. Good for
Yeah.
you.
It's
And it's funny,
been
that was an aha moment for me too, early, like years ago, where it's we're humans, so we tend to stare, we tend to observe, but the thoughts that you have in your head aren't necessarily the thoughts that the people who are you're happen to be in a same place with, that they're not looking at you the way you think that you should be, that you think you look like.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
was also a huge lesson too. So
yeah. And I think like people when they first meet you, especially like will just take you as you are. It's like, oh, that's how you look. They're not seeing your whole oh, you used to be strong and health, and now you just you're you, and this is how they perceive you. And I think we're the only ones with the full history of our bodies. And so if you
yes,
compare yourself constantly to what you used to look like or what you could look like in the future, like no one else has those past and future bodies of yours in their head. They just have you in the present. So
right.
I think that's also an
And they
important,
either like you or they don't like you.
yeah,
And that's based on personality, right? And energy exchange. So
yeah, exactly. But
yeah. Well,
I
good for
appreciate
you.
you flipping it back on me because it is like it is important to like have my own reflections with these because, um, yeah, it's like it's one thing to talk about it impersonally, but then when it's about you, then you really feel the like the weight of it. It is a personal thing, like your vessel. And yeah, being perceived by others is definitely you have to be ready for it.
And it's interesting. That's probably one reason. I mean, I know we spoke before why this podcast or became what it is today. But I mean, part of that is also yourself too, right? I mean, that was when I started my series. Like you said, I've got a library of different of emotional rides and in my life, but I was like, well, that really sucks. I don't. Yeah, I've wasted so many years in my head thinking what other people, how they would perceive me physically, when probably, I mean, if it was an attractiveness thing, probably, a good portion of them were attracted to me. I just couldn't see it because why in my head I thought of myself this way. Even when I would lose weight and be at the gym, I still literally felt, and that's the body dysmorphia, I literally felt like I was that fat person. I don't know if fat is a faux pas these days. I have no idea, but I don't really care. You know, it's like you said, people see you face value as you are when they meet you, and they either like you or they don't like you. And it's not based on how big your arms are, how great your ass is, or it's none of that. It's none of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and there's I don't think until like your mind is right with that, there's never a place where you land and be happy with it. Like I know in my like working out phase for that mission to just get huge. There was no place where I'm like, oh, I'm done. This is now I'm happy with it. So it was more about fixing or just being okay with like myself to get to a point where I can work out for health reasons and not like external validation reasons.
Right,
So
right.
internalizing that was huge.
Well, whenever you're ready, my friend, whenever you're ready, you let me know.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I know that the space that you create and then the way that you facilitate would be incredibly helpful for someone like embarking on that journey.
it's a safe space, and that's I try to really stick with that. I mean, photography is what I do for a living. So, and it just has to be a really great experience. And yeah, I have to say, probably with all these men, I think one person had a really bad experience with me, not necessarily because of me or because it was because even though I'm looking at them and they're physically, they look amazing, but they, like you, like me, uh, other at times in my life, I didn't feel it and he didn't feel amazing. So the experience of photographing together wasn't necessarily the issue,
Yeah.
but he wasn't ready.
Yeah. Just not ready. Yeah. And it totally makes sense that like,
Where he
it,
thought he was, but then as it was happening, you could feel he felt his awkwardness, and I tried really hard. And then on the way home, he just said he cried. He just
mm,
wasn't ready for that. So that's
wow.
unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, but
So
it's
I get
also,
it. And when you are, call me.
but also an important realization, like, okay, there's more work to be done.
Hmm.
And props for like being almost there, right? Like almost there, like thinking you're ready and okay, maybe a bit more work to do, more to chip away at. So I still think progress, yeah, and like unfortunately it wasn't like a big celebratory moment, but still progress. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
You have to celebrate all milestones, right?
yeah,
What big or small.
yeah.
That's what the
Awesome. Well,
journey of life is about.
yeah, lots to think about. You made my morning, so I really appreciate the
Oh,
conversation.
you as well. I mean, last night I was just like making all these notes for for today's interview, but
Well, it really came through just like the thinking you've done on it. And I really enjoyed the conversation and I could do a whole nother hour, which maybe we put in let's see, like let's check in later on. It could be worth brainstorming a bit more and or maybe in response to some of the things, to the conversations that get started once we post, we could jump off those starting points as well in the future. So
okay,
totally it doesn't have to be a one and done. I'd love to continue the conversation in the future.
okay, perfect. Let's do that.
Yeah. So what do you think it means to be a good man? What